The theme of this year's conference is about resilience and about Indigenous people and how they have overcome, barriers to be living and learning their Indigenous lives. So for us, it's living and learning as Maori. And our story is about the resilience of our school history and how we've transformed and transitioned into a learning environment that meets the needs of our children to live and learn as Maori. And we've got a story to tell about how we overcame a number of barriers by the education system of New Zealand at the time to be able to live quite an authentic Māori education life, be you a teacher, a parent or a student.
So what's different for your teachers and students that enables that authentic Māori education?
One of the main things about Ngā Tapuwae is we don't compare ourselves. We live and learn in the context of our community. Community is really important. Location of our students is really important. And it's about giving urban Māori children hands-on experience in environmental spaces that they would traditionally be at if they were in their homelands. So in year 6, our children take on the water care of all the creeks in the area. And all our science programs work with water care for all the local streams and rivers here in the tribe of Waihohua, which is a sub-tribe of Tainui. We also look at where the students actually come from originally and what the iwi economic development plans are and what sort of experts they would require. And then we give those ideas to the students, and if they wish, they take those studies on. So for one young lady in our school, she is now doing her PhD at Stanford University, and she's the only expert in New Zealand on the pipi.
Where is she from?
She's from Kaikohe. And so a lot of our students try and move towards making a link back to their homelands where they were traditionally disconnected from because of their parents moving to the city.
I understand your students don't have timetables. How does that work?
What we've done is we've gone from a traditional place of where you give a child a 24 period timetable in a week to where our students actually choose their subjects and then we timetable around all the students. So it's about the teacher being flexible and responsive to the needs of the children, not the school education option system being laid down and we have to fit the kids, the square pegs in the round holes, so to speak. During the 70s, enjoyed the Pacific and Māori brown flight from the central Auckland here to Mangere. It was sort of the land of milk and honey at the time. Lots of work, lots of happy Māori and Pacific people, families, bigger homes, bigger houses. So it was sort of like the land of milk and honey for our people. And then we went through quite a prosperous time here in Mangere. Unfortunately, in the 80s, there was a downturn in employment. Lots of people lost their jobs. The works closed down. Industries around here that supplied work to the families closed down, and then basically brought about quite a very dark economic time for the community of Mangere. So it was time for the teachers to kick in and provide more stability for the children of the families that were now unemployed, and we did that. With that resurgence and looking after our families and going into homes to bring our children to school, because at that time attendance for Māori and Pacific children were really, really low, we decided to kick a pastoral care system into the schools to support with Māori and Pacific teachers, and we started a bilingual unit here at Ngā Tapuwae College at that time, and from there we grew into many changes. The school role dropped, the Māori role stayed solid, and then we transitioned from a bilingual school into a total immersion school, and we've been on that journey for the last 20 years.
How do mainstream educators and schools respond to how you run Ngā Tapuwae?
I think there's a growing understanding. I think that it's about treaty partnership. It's about 50-50 understanding and sharing understanding. It's about your rights and responsibilities as a treaty partner. And it's also about the education responding to us as a 50-50% treaty partner. And this is the story that I'll be telling in Toronto. It's not the story about us being 18% of the population and Māori only have 18% of the rights to being Indigenous as a treaty partner. It's about being truly a 50-50% partnership, Māori and non-Māori. And I think in terms of tribal schools, we do things for us, by us, our way, and that's okay. In terms of our credibility in the education system, tribal schools, kura schools punch well above their weight in terms of achievement right across the board. So I think it's a valid and authentic learning space that people would want to take note of. And the world certainly asks us. Last year we had the Global Leaders Education Forum here that was hosted by Valerie Hannon, who is the Chief Director of the Innovations Unit in London. And she brought the global leaders down to New Zealand because we've got something. Indigenously, we have something that the rest of the world wants.
So you're high achieving, internationally recognised. What do you say to people who doubt the value of total immersion education?
I don't. I just don't, because it's the way we want to live and the way we respond to what we can respond to. I actually, I don't respond to people who don't believe it's an important learning space, because as a Māori and as an Indigenous woman, I know what it does for me as a person, what it does for my children, their families, and to live authentically a Māori life and understand that our protocols and our cultures and the cultural sensitivities of being Māori, and you implement that into an education environment. I probably don't be so bold as I actually don't really care what other people think, because it is a learning experience that's only for some. It can't be for all.
Do you think New Zealanders understand what total immersion education is?
It's not understood by New Zealanders. There's two reasons why. People don't care, don't want to know, and some people do, and it's just, that's what it is. But the point about Indigenous education, it is for us, to be for us, for us, by us, our way, and that's about living an authentic Māori life and existence inside a system that's not for us.
When you go to your international conferences, do you explain there's a lot of pushback from mainstream New Zealand?
I think that generally the New Zealand experience is a good one on the world stage. I think we are. I think what we have in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is much more than what any other Indigenous country in the world has. I think, we've got it in legislation, we've got it in policy, we've got it in rhetoric. What we need it in is action, functional operating spaces where you can actually aspire to whatever your cultural base is, and it's validated inside the education system. The system, responds to us, and it's up to us. How I work anyway is to understand the system really well and make the system work for me, and make the system work for my people. We've got lots of hope. Our parents have a lot of hope. Our children understand and know their language, and it's learning their culture and their language. Through their learning, it embeds a love of being who and what we are.